Hi, I'm Jim Bergeron from Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas. This is a sermon for the Sunday, the 12th Sunday of Pentecost in the C series. Pastor Spooner was absent-minded, and he mixed up his words and syllables frequently, sometimes hilariously. He once said to a worshiper who was in his place, "Pardon me, Padam, you are occupying my pie. May I sew you to another sheet?" Place is very important. We have a place of worship. We move from place to place for events that take place. Place faith in the Lord so your heart will be in the right place. We usually know our place, but we feel out of place as we search for a place in the sun. And there are always those who should be put in their place. Our place may be where we feel comfortable and in control, and sometimes in our drive to define our place, we displace others. A great deal of this world's struggle is concerned with finding, defining, and maybe defending our place. What is war but an attempt to expand a claimed place? The pushy, self-assertive behavior that Jesus describes at a banquet is a daily feature in life. The higher a monkey climbs, as they say, the more you see of its behind. Road rage is a deadly dispute over a place in a line of cars. Don't let that so-and-so get ahead of you. I've seen people dangerously tailgate ambulances to take advantage of the places opened by those who kindly and legally yielded place to the emergency first responders. There are laws that define things like right-of-way. As a pedestrian, you always have the right-of-way in an unregulated intersection. And that is something that you should carefully explain in detail as the next semi bears down upon you. I wonder how many gravestones could have the words plaintively etched into granite. But I had the right-of-way. Most everyone would like to be in the front of the line, at the back of the church, in the center of attention. Jesus talks about our place as guests at the party of God's kingdom. The wonderful good news that pervades the whole point of Luke's recording this teaching of Jesus is to make it very clear that you are there at the party. You have been honored with the invitation and you have arrived. The most important personage there is, of course, God, who is throwing the party. You're a valued guest. And as a guest, you don't choose a place of honor. You don't even have to worry about your place. The host has a perfect place for you. Finding your place can be a discovery process, guided by God the host. If you're pushy, it'll be difficult. If you're humbly aware and focused on the host, you'll be content, regardless of where you find yourself. Accept God's hospitality as it is proffered. Don't demand tailor-made considerations and accommodations to your desires. Enjoy contentment and serenity with your life positions as they develop. Maybe the party is sort of like a game of musical chairs, but without the elimination of a chair and its contestant. No one is banned or evicted from the feast, but God shuffles us around so that we get to meet other interesting placeholders. Then we live in modest acceptance of God's will. It's living with divine poise and elegant dignity. There are places closer to the host. In fact, that guy, his son, Jesus, is right up there at his right hand. Yeah, the one who is debased and tortured and died and was resurrected. Just thought I'd mention that observation. We're guests in the world, and that's the best, wherever we might be placed. It's fruitless and exhausting to try and find the best place and defend it. The day the new green hymnal, many years ago, the Lutheran Book of Worship, was introduced in Houston at Christ the King, Pastor Peterman gave me the key to his house so I could take a shower on the way to the meeting, because I was arriving late. After a 5-mile run sponsored by KLOL and morning hosts Stevens and Pruitt. I'd never run in such a race, but I'd been training. There were over 1,000 contestants. There was this starting line, and then runners piled up, crunched together for a whole block behind it. I elbowed my way to the front as the starting gun went off. I almost got trampled. Everybody passed me. I was struggling and dying, trying to keep up with 5-minute milers. Before the race, I had seen those numbers on the signs every 30 yards or so, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I didn't know they indicated the speed in minutes per mile that the contestant would usually run, and therefore the place group where I should be. I ended up with 5 8-minute miles. I thought I was losing because half of the runners passed me, but I was winning just by being there and doing better than I'd ever done before. I ended up stacking 5 8-minute miles. Okay, I'll take that. In a profound way, the world, the flesh, and the devil, as Luther called him, gave me a bunch of learning there, instructed me with a 40-minute lesson in a struggle. And the good Lord put me in the race and got me through it in a perfect place. Humbled but proud to have been there in a low place at that party. Not the humility of being trampled, but the grace of finding a place. Father Fred had 3 extra tickets to the Astros game. He took 3 nuns who had never been to a game before. They were thrilled. But then there were some rednecks behind them that were loud, and they were getting drunker and drunker with each beer, and starting in with snide comments and penguin jokes. One got brave and said, "I'm thinking about moving to Arkansas. There's not many Catholics there." Another said, "Well, there's less Catholics in Kansas." Last one said, "You ought to try Alaska. There's hardly any Catholics there." Father Fred was steaming. But beautiful Sister Mary Margaret turned around, smiling sweetly, and said, "Why don't you go to Hades? There aren't any Catholics there." God graciously has a place for us all. It's a perfect place. The mighty, modestly meek, accepting that, also have advantages in living and adapting. Once they've learned to suppress ego, pay attention to the world around them, they're free to let God lift them up into grace. Problems turn into projects. Obstacles become opportunities. Somehow tragedies morph into triumphs. And you can use those stumbling blocks for stepping stones. Fruits come from frustrations, and foes make good friends. The adversity is an adventure in place. The mighty, modestly meek are alertly poised to accept the place where the host places us at his party. They wouldn't presume to take a higher seat or a top seat because they know that wouldn't allow for more growth or movement. The last seat that Jesus describes at this party is in Greek, the eschaton topon, the last place. That is simply death. One more place amongst all the options available at the Messianic banquet, or so we think. But then Jesus, our friend, is raised. And Jesus, our host, comes to us and says, "Friend, move up higher." He will raise us up from the last place and bid the endless party to continue. Amen.